Hi, my name is Steven. I'm from an organization called PokePress. Patrick, why don't you start out? How did you get into voice acting?
Oh man, I got into voice acting. Uh, my mom taught at the high school that I ultimately ended up going to, but she taught there from when I was very young, and every year, a lot of high schools do a number of plays throughout the school year, but the high school that she taught at that I ultimately went to, every year would just do one big musical. They put all their eggs into one big musical basket and do like South Pacific or Damn Yankees or Oklahoma, like all the old classics. And they would give all of the teachers a pair of tickets each year as sort of a thank you slash we're sorry slash bribe for all of the theater kids being zombies the last 2 weeks before the show opens, because they were all exhausted from the rehearsals going late. So from a very young age, she would bring me to see these musicals, and my little 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old brain was just blown by watching all of these shows. So when I started high school, I just thought, well, I'm going to try for the musical. Like, there was no burning ambition. I didn't have a plan. I was just like, well, I like the musicals. And they do the musicals here, so tried out and got in because I was a guy, and they're always in need of low voices, and I always had a low voice. Got bit by the acting bug, did musicals and plays in high school and college. And then after college, because I live in California anyway, thought, oh, I'll just move to LA and be an actor. It'll be that easy. It was not that easy. And the lady that I had been studying acting with throughout high school and college said, you've got an interesting voice. You're looking at voiceover. I'm like, yeah, I'll look at voiceover. If I have any downtime between all the on-screen stuff. And voiceover ended up having the luck. So I put my energy and time into that. And was like, I don't want to do on-screen. Let's do voiceover.
What were some of your first roles?
My first role, I was Saint, who was a spy from the Vatican in a show called Amazing Nurse Nanako from Genion, back in the day when there was a Genion. Luke Valentine from Hellsing.
Well, as far as your roles in the Pokemon franchise, you've had a few here and there. The first one appears to be Pokémon Generations, where you played Gestus and Ryoku. What was the audition process like, and how did that unfold?
For Getsus, sort of the standard audition here. You get the copy, you read it a couple times, you record your own pass, send it in, and then, usually, statistically, you don't hear anything back. But on that one, luckily, they brought me in. It's weird because Getsus, he didn't have a lot to do. Like he was in that one spot and that was pretty much it. But there have been some people who've been very like, oh my God, you were Getsus, that's so great. Like it clearly struck a chord with them, and I'm always grateful when any role I play does that. But especially one where he doesn't have a lot of screen time or a lot to do. He's not around much, but he definitely made an impact.
And then a little bit later in Detective Pikachu, the game, you had a chance to play Carlos Hernando. How did that one come about?
I think as I'm remembering, that one may have been the studio in question just bringing me in, no audition, saying, hey, we'd like you to play this character, which is always great too, because, when they know what you can do and where your strengths are, and they just bring you in for the thing without an audition, that's always kind of a treat, because usually it's like, well, I got to do the auditions, got to jump the hurdles to... As I recall, I voiced some Pokemon too, but I don't remember who off the top of my head. But I think for all of us, or many of us that were in it, was, okay, you're going to play some humans, and then because we've got 8 bajillion Pokemon, you're also going to voice some of them.
Yeah, really neat. I assume you got a chance to see the movie adaptation at some point. What was that like?
That was fun. I was glad it looked as good as it did. And that might be a shallow answer, but I think we all remember janky Sonic before before they went back to the drawing board and fixed him. So I'm glad that everyone was cute. I'm glad that Pikachu was especially cute, because they know what the people want, and by the people I mean me. So
yeah, they definitely had an aesthetic, and they more or less nailed it. Mm-hmm. So. Also in 2019, let's kind of talk, you were in the Pokémon Masters EX game. You were voicing Lieutenant Surge, noted tough guy, imposing character. What was that like?
That was fun. It's anytime I get to be involved in the Pokemon franchise is a sort of a cool little sort of check mark in my soul of a thing that I got to work on. And with Lieutenant Surge, I mean, like you said, he's a tough guy. He's blonde. He's not quiet. He's not subtle. So I feel like it plays to a lot of the sort of recurring tropes in my career. You know, when they showed me the artwork of him at the top of that session, I'm like, yep, I know what we're doing. Yeah. It definitely wasn't like, me? Really? For this guy? Huh.
Neat. Why don't you talk about a few of your more modern roles?
Oh, man. I got to play North Number 2 in a show called Pluto. It came out on Netflix late last year, an adaptation of the Urasawa manga from 2003. Really jazzed about that because I loved the manga for Pluto, loved Monster, the anime. I got to work on that a billion years ago. I guess I wouldn't call it recent, but it's been, going forever, is One Piece, of course, getting to play Frankie. It's been really gratifying seeing how much people have, just the enthusiasm for One Piece. Because something running that long, I mean, people could be like, oh, I liked it before, and then I got sick of it, or I dug it, and then I didn't. And, it would be easy for people to be like, okay, I've had my fill, I'm moving on to something else, 1,000+ episodes in. So to see so much enduring excitement and enthusiasm on that front is like, oh, that's great. And then, of course, My Hero Academia is still going to get to play Endeavor in that. He's divisive. Some people love him. Some people hate him. Some people hated him and now love him. Some people hated him and still hate him. And I understand all those variations. Like when people are like, you're great, but I hate your character Endeavor. I'm like, hey, I get it. Tanaka in Persona 3, the remake. That was a fun one because I voiced him before. I went in, and a lot of times, for some of these, you go in and you do your one session on the thing, and then, it comes out months later, a year later, whenever it comes out. And it really resonates with people like, oh, wow, that thing that I did so long ago is clicking with folks. And Tanaka, he's not a good man. He's a very slimy man. But he's a very charismatic man. People seem to have really been enjoying him in the remake, so...
And where can folks find you online? Do you have a website, social media?
I'm on... it's always going to be Twitter. It's never going to be X. It's always going to be Twitter. I'm on Twitter. There's only one other Patrick Seitz I've found who is a conservative journalist, so that's definitely not me. On Twitter, a little bit on Instagram, but I'm not good about posting because I words more than I picture. Twitter's probably the best way to find me. Best place to find me. And it's like 90% retweets and dad puns and the occasional post about, hey, I worked on a thing, which I realize I should change those numbers up a little bit, but I like what I like. So mostly puns and stupidity, but some career talk.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing some time with us.
You're so welcome.